It's Jack, and this video is 5 ways to deal with problems and difficulties in life. So let's get to it. The first thing that you can do to help deal with problems and difficulties in life is actually to acknowledge that there are problems and difficulties in life. AKA, said differently, don't wish it were easier. Don't wish it were different. Now this may seem counterintuitive to you, this may seem hopeless or resigned or frustrating to hear, but generally in life we don't get anywhere by not fully being accepting and present to what is actually happening and what is in front of us. If you've got a flat tire on your car, you don't get anywhere quickly by not acknowledging that you've got a flat tire in your car. You've got to deal with it, right? If you've got a tax return deadline coming up, you've got to deal with that. And no matter your levels of health or wealth or abundance or ease or freedom or any sort of future state that you could imagine you're being in, life will always have problems and difficulties. Trust fund kids have problems and difficulties. Young people have problems and difficulties. Old people have problems and difficulties. It's just part of life. And so the more you can be in full rapport and deeper acceptance of where you actually are, and accepting the feelings and emotions that you have about wherever you are, the easier it is to actually invite something new into your life. There's an old kind of British joke that is probably mildly racist, and it's slightly at the expense of Irish people, so all that acknowledged. But it's like you're asking for someone for directions, and they say, oh no, you don't want to start here, you want to start over there. And oftentimes when we have problems, we kind of treat it that way. Like, I don't want to be where I am here, I want to start from somewhere else. And generally in life, that doesn't work great. Jim Rohn, who was a sort of old school American personal development teacher, he used to say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And what I like about that is that there's some kind of acceptance that when you do have problems and difficulties in life, they grow you. And they offer you opportunities that without them you wouldn't have. And so if you can, in your moments of deepest despair and trial and tribulation, just remember, hey, this might be life growing you. And life generally doesn't throw things that in the long run it doesn't feel you can handle. So take it as a positive thing, that life is here to grow you. Okay, so step number 2 is actually to slow it down. And if you're anything like me or the people I work with, probably when you're under stress, you'll do exactly the opposite. You'll speed up, you'll get more in your head, you'll say yes to things that you don't need to say yes to, you'll set deadlines that actually are hard for you to make happen, you'll put more pressure on yourself. So you may have heard this, the Dalai Lama saying that, on his busy days, he makes sure he prays or meditates for half an hour, but on his really busy days, he makes sure that he prays or meditates for an hour. And what is that about? It's about that the more pressure and demands you have on yourself, the more you actually need access to your heart, to know what your priorities are, and to your presence, to have a clear mind that can bring in clarity and intuition and guide you towards what you need to do. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with problems and difficulties, I'd really encourage you to shut everything out, put your phone on airplane mode, take time, take stock, get some paper, do a commitment inventory, which is where you look at all the commitments you have in your life, or at least just look at the big things that really need your attention and encourage your guidance to give you some clarity about what actually is needed. Some of the times we will be stressing ourselves by things that actually all that's needed is to take some time and let it ride out. Or maybe there is a super critical decision, and actually to make that decision, you need to be in conversation with some people. You can't make that decision on your own. And it's only by slowing it down and really noticing, what's needed here, that you're going to get access to that sort of information. All right, step 3 is to check the season. Check the season of life you're in. So this kind of goes a little bit with point 2, but from my experience of coaching a lot of people now over 6+ years, what I've noticed is it's easy for us to get out of sync with the real season of our lives. And what I mean by that is we may be causing a lot of stress because we've got this story that we've got to write our book, or we've got to build a business, or change course in our business, or decide whether a relationship is going somewhere or not going somewhere. And sometimes it's not even the right season, that if you just slow down and really listened into yourself, it's not actually the season to start a business. You might have a deep desire for that, but it's not this season, right? Maybe it's a year out. Maybe it's 6 months out. Maybe you just got to get through the Christmas season, or whatever it is that's going on. But unless you actually slow it down and check in with yourself, you're not going to have access to that information. So notice the season. If you didn't have any ideas or any idealizations about what you need to be doing, what would you actually be doing in your life? And sometimes when people really check in, they're like, oh, I need a break, or I need a vacation, or I need some time to just not be under too much pressure, or I need to reconnect in my relationship or my family. You only notice that if you really check the season. The season doesn't have to do with ideas up here. The season is something more intuitive, more felt, just a deeper guidance that you can access about what is it that life really wants for you in this season of your life. And if you can drop the fantasies, you'll get a clearer read on what's actually going on. All right, so step 4 is renegotiate your commitments. Renegotiate your commitments. That there's one executive skill that I would encourage people to look at is actually learning how to renegotiate commitments, which means looking at the agreements you have with yourself and with other people and noticing if there's anything that, given what's on your plate, given what the priority of this time and this season is, does it actually make sense for you to be in that commitment? You know, maybe you need to take a month and actually not have any commitment to go to yoga or the gym, you know, or maybe you need to double down on that commitment because that's what keeps you sane. Maybe you have a commitment that's kind of hanging around with someone that you'll kind of meet up and kind of work on a project, but actually that project isn't mission critical right now, so let's just take it off your plate. And part of what's difficult with this is that guilt can come up and disappointment can come up. Right? We might feel guilty that we have all these ideas about how many times we want to get to the gym or get to yoga or keep some discipline or do our green drinks in the morning, or how many times we should hang out with people or go to book clubs or be part of networking groups or whatever the thing is for you. And sometimes we just need to let that go and notice like, oh, that would be great. And I don't actually have the energy right now. I'm not available for that right now. So why am I making my life more difficult than it needs to be by keeping some sort of energetic commitment, background commitment, some kind of hook into that thing, which every time I think about it brings me negative thoughts, it brings me confusion, it takes me from my center. Why would you do that? That doesn't make sense. So learn how to renegotiate your commitments and don't feel bad about it. Just sometimes it can be things like, I'm not available for this in this cycle, or I need another month until I look at whether I can actually be in a commitment to this, or I know I said that I would get you this project by this time, I'm actually looking at it and I can't do a job that's well enough, good enough in that time period, so I need to put the deadline back. Whatever the particular thing is for you, learning how to be with the things that come up, learning how to, quote, let people down in service of something truer. And quite often when you learn to do this, it's not just that it benefits you, it benefits everyone around you because you learn how to make better agreements. Agreements, you know, if the only way that you can keep an agreement with me is to be a crazy person who's stressed and lacking in sleep and not enjoying their life, why would I want that agreement with you? Like if I care about you having a good life and enjoying your life and being somewhat present and sane, why would I want you to be stressed that way in order to keep a commitment with me? Now, if you're just completely procrastinating on something, that's probably a different story. But for most of the time, it's not that we're procrastinating, it's that we're actually overwhelmed and we're overcommitted, right? A lot of, particularly in the Western world, culture kind of runs on this sort of sense of, you know, how you doing? Yeah, busy, good, you, good. It's like, maybe we don't need to be like that all the time. You know, there's seasons and there's times and places to push and hustle, and believe me, I've been in the startup world and I know what that's like. But if that's your default, if that's the background way that you're doing life, you might want to look at the agreements you keep and whether it's actually serving you. Okay, step number 5 of how to deal with problems and difficulties is make it explicit the kind of support you want. So let the people around you, your nearest and dearest, your work colleagues, your business partner, your romantic partner, your family, your close friends, whoever it is that you go to get support, make it explicit to them what kind of support would actually serve you. You know, do you need half an hour of someone's time just to bounce around ideas? Do you need an hour to sit down with someone and just vent and process and let go of some things? Do you need someone to do some practical things for you? Like, would it really help you if someone could do a couple of school runs, or that you want to meet up for a meal, but maybe they could organize it, or that someone could organize takeout for it, even if you pay? You know, you start to get a little bit more flexible in noticing, what are the ways that I need support that actually support me, right? Because there's a thing called subjectification. It's a fancy word, but it means that we tend to overestimate how much people are like us and how much they want the things that we want, right? So when we go to give support to other people, we often do it in the ways that ourselves we like to receive support. and that may not be what's actually needed. Right? So get clear what kind of support you need. Maybe you need space, maybe you need support, maybe you need an arm around your shoulder, maybe you need to know, hey, take as long as you need. I get that this is a busy time for you, so don't worry about me right now, right? If that's your close friend, your partner, or your business partner. Tuning into that will really help other people be aligned with you. And what do we know? That when we're under times of difficulties and problems, oftentimes it's our relationships that can kind of make or break us. Right? Our relationships can either come under strain and stress and fray, or we can be on the journey of difficulty together and actually deepen our connection, deepen our relationship, because we have alignment. So that's why it's important for you to know and be able to make requests for the kind of support that would feel good to you. All right, so that's the 5 ways to deal with problems and difficulties in your life. Please like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Questions and comments welcome below this video, and I'll see you on another video soon. Thanks so much.